done. Skrillex ablaze the fire, make it fun. Then we must up the place, turn up the bass and make some sound. Boy run, and we will end your week just like a Sunday.
Aloha, welcome to our very first Kehi Boys podcast. We've thrown around this idea and of really being able to create a platform to share kind of our stories. I think we have a really unique situation here at HPU, being in Hawaii, being a Division II program on an island. I think makes for some really cool stories that need to be told, and I really wanted to kind of pick and choose different stories and guys that we've had in our program. Particularly today, we're going to be talking about recruiting, developing, and winning, and kind of how that process unfolded for some certain guys in our program. But yeah, well, welcome, and we're excited to get going. First guy I wanted to bring in to start this thing off is Daniel Johnson. Daniel was recruited here in 2022. I'll let him kind of explain his path, but I think there's no better guy to start off this podcast or this YouTube channel, whatever you want to call it. We don't know. I don't know yet. We're super new to this, but I wanted to bring him on because I think he's kind of the epitome of what I look for in players. And what we're trying to build here with every guy that we have through our program. And everyone's going to be a little bit different, but Daniel in particular, helped lead this program to new heights, and was a part of a losing season, and then was a part of 2 30-win seasons and a playoff run. So welcome Daniel, and tell us how you got to HPU.
Yeah, so going back to my senior year of high school, I was, on a team full of Division I commits, and my one goal was I needed to play Division I baseball, and if I didn't, that was everyone was gonna look at me like I wasn't a good baseball player, and so that was my one goal. And then once I was able to accomplish that, I didn't like where I was at. The Division I wasn't all that, and so I decided to transfer during the COVID season of 2020 and went to a junior college. And I didn't have a lot of success at the first junior college, and I didn't do really good in school. So I transferred, I was basically asked to transfer by the coach to a different school. And at the second junior college, so my third school, that is kind of where, for the first time, I wasn't a role player on a team. I've always been a starter, and at this school, I was a guy that, I was on tendency charts, I was in the dugout, being a cheerleader and doing whatever I could to help the team because I wasn't able to help on the field.
You were a freshman, right?
And this was my second year.
This is in JUCO.
Yeah, this is
JUCO.
in JUCO. Yeah. So, and I wasn't playing much. That season, I had more pitching outings than I did at bats, and I'm not a pitcher.
That's typically not a good sign.
Yeah, not good at all. But I'm up until this point, I always struggled to find good things to say about that program. But I will say I did learn how to be a good teammate because I wasn't playing and I wanted to contribute in any way. And so I was always on the rails, doing whatever I could, trying to pick up pitchers' tendencies. I had a chart that I could tell you a really good idea of what the pitcher was going to throw in every single count because I had it all right in front of me. And then I don't every situation that I'd go to the guys next to me. I'm this is what I would have done differently. Every time there was a ball hit in the air with a guy on first, or if he was stealing, I was yelling, turn two, trying to beat the runner. And so I think in those moments, that's where I kind of learned the savviness and being able to see the game from a different point of view, which led me into, at the end of that year, the coaches basically told me that I didn't have a place on this team. And so they said it was in my best interest to transfer again. And that's where I went to my third junior college, so my fourth school in 3 years. and that school I'm very grateful for, and the coach there, who basically taught me how to gain confidence for myself and not get confidence from other people telling me like that I'm good, like, and how to get it from myself. And he taught me that, like, how to fail and how to recover from the failures. I remember,
just so people know, what junior college?
Yeah, this is Gateway Community College,
okay.
And the head
Arizona,
coach,
right?
in Arizona, and the head coach Rob Shabansky, and he was, like, at this point too, having transferred so many times, it was hard for me to build trust with the coach, and I think he did a really good job of letting me be me. Like, he saw that I was an unconventional type of player, and he coached me to those strengths and didn't try to change. I remember too, like, he told me that, like, once a weekend I needed to go out to a bar and talk to 5 different girls in order to, like, gain, like, that confidence, and if I got rejected, then that it's okay to get rejected, and learn and try to, like, get over it,
Nice.
which eventually would help me in baseball. And I had the best season that year up to that point, and at the end of it, I was really confused why, like, UCLA wasn't reaching out to me. I was so convinced that, like, if I had a good year, then I would.
We're gonna drop his stat line, by the way.
Yeah, it's not even
right
that.
Here. It'll be right here.
It's not even that good of a year, but to me, like, it was, like, that was, like, I felt so accomplished, and at the end of it, there wasn't a lot of schools reaching out, and then my best friend's mom sent me your Twitter post about Hawai'i Pacific University, and, like, when she sent it, like, it was literally opened it, clicked out of it, like just wasn't a second thought to me. And then she sent another one, and the only reason, like, I really reached out was so she could stop, like, telling me to, because it's like, when I thought of Hawai'i Pacific, or like a school in Hawaii, I was like, one, I don't want to reach out and get my hopes up and then never hear back, because I've been, like, reaching out to so many schools and, like, hearing nothing back.
And just forever, like, that happens a lot, right? I mean, that happens a lot more than people might think. Is, you know, well, as coaches, like, I'll get, 400 DMs on a Twitter post that I put, and, a lot of them I just don't have the time to reply to everybody, right? Or if I do, it's like, hey, sounds good, keep me posted, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
A lot of it is a lot of time. So, to Daniel's point, like, that's a true, valid, thing that goes through a lot of recruits' mind. And if you're a recruit watching this, like, it's a process, right? It takes the right coach to see you, to believe in you, and to give you a shot ultimately. But sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, and to that too, like every single school that, like, I could think of that I wanted to go to, or that, like, I think I could play at, like, I reached out to, like, every single California.
So, like, Vanderbilt.
Yeah, so
UCLA.
Vanderbilt, Tennessee. I still have a screenshot of I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but of me emailing, and, like, them not, like, reaching out, and then me emailing them again, and them not replying, and just, like, kind of screenshot to fuel the fire. But, like, there's probably 200 emails that I sent out, and, like, only 3 of them replied back, inviting me to a camp, and I was like, I'm too old to be going to a camp. But then, like, you can kind of see in the message that I sent you, also to any recruits, like, do not send the message that I sent, because it was very just, like, half, like, whatever. Like, I didn't have my full.
It was generic.
Very generic.
Yeah. It looked like it was copy and paste.
Yeah, like, very generic. Like, a lot of lowercase when there should be uppercases. And I sent it, and then I also didn't even send you my highlights. I just said, if you want to watch my highlights, you got to come to my page to see it. And I sent it, and I was like, all right, I did it. Like, now my friend's mom can't say anything to me. And, like, within the day, you messaged back.
I think it was probably within, like, 20 minutes.
Yeah. You messaged back, asking to get on a phone call. And then, and the rest is history. Sold me, easily sold me. And then a couple months later, I was living in Hawaii.
Right, so, to kind of give you guys my perspective on how I recruited Daniel. So, like Daniel said, I sent out a tweet, trying to gain more traction. I was a new coach. We were kind of a program that, Didn't have a lot of history of winning up until, for the last handful of years. I would say, before COVID, I think 2016. Sorry, by the way, this is Coach Richie Higa. He's also on the call because he's gonna dive into kind of what the development process looked like for Daniel, which is kind of the purpose of this whole thing. Is like I wanted to give more insight on what we do as a program, how we are able to develop guys like Daniel. But I think Richie is obviously a huge part of that. So sorry for not introducing you earlier, but and he's gonna be on another episode because he was also a player and ended up coaching. But sorry, going back to the recruiting. So I sent out a tweet just trying to get as many people to respond to me as possible because you never know, right? And at the time we were really looking for a catcher. I mean, we had a senior and then we had a guy ended up transferring. So I had 0 returning catchers, and that year in 2022, right? It was my first year. I thought that we lacked because our starting catcher actually got hurt. Actually, two of our guys ended up getting hurt throughout that year. We had to play our third catcher, who it was scary times when you only have one catcher that you can go to. It's tough. So that was like probably the biggest like recruiting need for us was making sure that we found a leader, making sure that we found a defensive first catcher. So, when Daniel responded to me, he said he said he had a good year. I think he said he picked off like 14 guys, which I thought I was like, there's no way that's real, right? And there's no way for me to check that either. So I went to his video, and it was a perfect video. It was probably 30 seconds of his defense, of receiving, 30 seconds of blocking, 30 seconds of him throwing guys out, and then, the last few clips were of him hitting. But what I noticed was his ability and athleticism behind the plate when he moved. So, for me, I was looking for a great blocker and a guy that could be an athletic thrower. And anyway, I saw that. I think I saw him make a throw like sidearm, and that was kind of what really caught my eye. I was like, wow, if you can do that, like I can coach you a little bit to maybe doing some other things. And it reminded me a lot of myself as a catcher. I was very much that way where I could throw from different angles. When he blocked, he got all the way out there. He picked a lot of balls. So there were a lot of things in the video that I think a lot of coaches, I don't know if they overlooked or just something that I saw that I was like, that looks like somebody that I would like, and it made me see a lot of myself in that. So I think that's what originally attracted me to him. And then I looked up his numbers and saw he hit 290. He struck out, I think, eight times that year and 100 something at bats. So I mean, that was another big one. Was like making sure we got a catcher that can put the ball in play, that can bunt. And then the one red flag that I did see was that I think he had double-digit errors, and I was like, that's hard to do as a catcher. That's really hard to do. When you make more than 2-3 errors in a season, it's hard to do. So I think that was the biggest question that I had so I called his coach, Rob, and I said, hey, tell me a little bit about this guy. And he said, he is the leader of our team. There's nothing that gets by him. He's gonna help you win. He's really tough. He put the ball in play. He doesn't have a lot of power, but he's probably a good 8-9 hitter. And then I was like, awesome. It sounds like the guy that we want. And then I called his former D1 coach, and I think it's always important to talk to references that have obviously helped him, and Daniel speaks really highly about, and he had really good things to say about the D1 coach as well. But I think when you leave a program, obviously I want to talk to that coach. What was the reason why he didn't pan out or he left that school? And to my surprise, I mean, everything was really positive. It was, hey, you want this guy because there's not going to be a ball that goes to the backstop with him. He's going to block and catch everything. Like, the arm is a little light, the bat's a little light, but I promise you, like, he's a competitor. So, for what we were looking for, that was exactly what we were looking for. And if I'm being honest, I didn't recruit him to be a starting catcher. I recruited him with the idea that, hey, he was going to be our second guy. He was gonna, give us depth and be super reliable. So, I offered him, I think, that day, and he sounded interested. I think he called me within a day after that to commit, and I was really surprised and shocked and super happy it all worked out. But
so sorry to cut you off, but going back to the double-digit errors, and just going back to my coach wanting us to fail and wanting us to try things, and so one of the things that I really wanted to do was do the no-look throw out, and so every time we had like a lead that was like 4 or 5 plus, I'd always try the no-look throw, and I never could make the throw. And I'm sure there's other errors that were actual errors, but a lot of them were just me trying to the no-look throw to first, or like the back pick to third, just like catch and then just throw, and it didn't work out. I had to put him out one time, but like I was so determined, and my coach really liked that. I kept trying it. And so I just wanted to clear the air that I wasn't like that bad. And I think also too, as I'm sure we'll get into it, but in junior college and prior, like in high school, like I was always known for my defense. Like getting recruited, like a lot of people would have said that I was like an elite defender who like could help with the bats with like hit and runs and bunts and stuff like that. And I think it's really funny how like as my time at HPU progressed, like it kind of switched where
for sure
the offenses started outshining the defense. But
I think so I mean that's how we got Daniel, is because I did think he was an elite defender that had the opportunity to do the things that we're gonna ask him to do, which was bunt, hit and run. And this was before like Richie hopped on staff, so I was doing the hitting, and I'm recruiting guys based on how I feel like I can coach them, and that was what I like to coach. So, enter Richie, or enter you coming to HBU. Talk to us about what that first year was like for you, basically being a backup guy.
So coming to Hawaii to start was just an amazing, like from the moment I got off the plane, like I felt like this was everything that I ever wanted, that I didn't even know that I wanted. Just the vibes, the culture, the weather, everything about Hawaii was amazing. And at this point too, you got to understand that I was going into my 4th year of college, and I had spent the last year really like just grinding and like doing everything that I could in the classroom and on the field to get to the point where I was, in Hawaii now. And so being a part of a new team, being a part of a new coaching staff, I was a little anxious, and I found a lot of fun, like, hanging out with the team, going out, doing stuff, where my focus was kind of doing that rather than being in baseball. And I did not know what to expect, and I learned quickly what KE built meant. And that it's harder to have those that outside fun while also being able to compete, and there is a balance, and I just didn't know what that balance was at first. And so I think if you look at the stats for my fall, that first year, like the first weekend was really bad, and then after I stopped going out and doing all this stuff, then it slowly progressed going up, and I was like, okay, this is the balance now. And I didn't know, I had no idea the practice situation or the campus situation. I didn't know there was 3 separate campuses.
Because you never came for a visit.
It never came for a visit, yeah. So like the day before my first class, I went to all my classes to walk it out, and I was going to 3 different buildings, and I was like, I was just really confused. And like, it's funny now because I know where every single thing is, but at first it was just, I was so lost. And I got through that whole fall, and it was brutal, but it was needed. And I kind of knew where I stood in the pack. I know there was Chase Taylor in front of me, and then there was also Ian Wolski, who was probably ahead of me, but he was a freshman, and so I knew I had experience over him. And by the time season came around, I was slotted for the game 2s, and I now I look back at it and I'm like, I should have done more to become the game 1, but in that moment I was so okay with being the game 2 guy because it was 7 innings. It was easy. Like if I got 1 hit or if I walked 1 time, I could say I had a good game because I was only getting 2 or 3 at bats. And
that's really what it was. It was like, I think you hit 315 that year.
Yeah.
But it was like, hey, 1 for 3 with a single. Right?
Yeah. I don't remember 1 barrel that I had that first year. Like it was all just jam shots, like fluke hits, and like I lucked myself into a 315 batting average for sure, and then catching I didn't have to worry about catching in 9 innings. Like I knew I could give everything I had for 7 innings, which makes it a lot easier. And also like the first game, like I enjoyed just me and Hayden Huff being on the bench, cheering on the guys, making games with ourselves, and finding ways to keep guys entertained in the game, and trying to pick pitchers and doing all that stuff. And then it started the closer to the end of the season when we knew we weren't really that good. Yeah, we were out of the conference. Like I was really frustrated now that I was only the game 2 guy. And I wanted to do more to be a part of a winning team, and I knew what I had to do. I just didn't know how to do it. And I'm with a new coaching staff, and I'm trying to build their trust while also trying to I'm trying to trust them, and I'm also trying to get them to trust me at the same time. And so it was just weird, and we definitely underachieved that season. And like the 315 in my head, I was like, no, that's a good season.
Yeah.
If you just look at the 315, but then if you look at, I think it was 54 at bats.
Yeah.
And it's just that's 2 weekends basically now of last year of at bats. And so I don't know, I really wanted more out of everything, out of myself and out of the team. And so that was kind of summed up that first year.
So what was your I guess you talked about your mindset kind of off the field and how that translated to on the field, but let's dive into the offensive development that you've had from year 1 to your senior year. And what did that look like year 1 with me as your hitting coach, which again, for reference, being the head coach and being the hitting coach is really tough because I don't have the time to work individually with every guy, especially when you're in an up and coming program. There's so many logistical things that I have to do that doesn't involve player development, and it's just really hard to give the guys individual attention they need. And on top of that, I'm no hitting guru like Richie is. So for Daniel, I can tell you from my perspective, I knew what he was good at, which is putting the ball in play. I knew that that he struggled to keep balls fair at times. So I remember telling you a couple quick fixes hey, close yourself off like Giancarlo and just try to pull everything, right?
Yeah.
Hit everything out in front.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Drag bunt once in a while.
Yeah.
But talk to us about your first year and how that's come around.
Yeah. So I came in a really low stance, and I was toe tapping, which I didn't do in junior college. I kind of worked on that over the summer, and it felt good. And then I came here, and it was it worked enough to get me in the lineup, but it had it wasn't gonna
no impact.
It had no impact. Yeah. And you told me to close off a little bit, which it felt so just weird. Having my front foot be over my back foot, but also led me to standing up tall, which was way more comfortable than being low, and I felt way easier on my legs. But I knew too, if one, all I had to do is put the ball in play and I'd get lucky and get a hit, and 2, if there was a guy on base, just bunt. If I bunted, then everyone gave me a high five and it was fine. And so I didn't like have much thought about what I needed to do, like hitting extra base hits. Like I just, like to me, like that wasn't part of my skill set at the time. So I had to work with what I had, and that was finding ways to put the ball in play and not striking out.
It just wasn't who they talk about, like player identity, right?
Yeah.
That's just not who you were as a
wasn't.
player.
Yeah,
right?
like we had the guys on that team that could hit extra base hits, you know, and like looking at my swings compared to them, like they were nowhere close at the time, and so, and I knew like it's really hard to change something that drastic mid-season, so I was just kind of like had to wear it, and like I would always joke with Creighton, our weightlifting coach at the time, like I'm doing okay with a broken swing and a really bad stance. Like if we could fix those two things, I think I could be pretty good. But then after that year, you started making changes with the recruiting guys. Like I saw the guys that you started to bring in and the guys that kind of were leaving, and I saw like how the trajectory of our team was starting to move upwards. And then I got really scared that, because I remember in our exit meeting, you told me that like it was my job to lose, which I never really had before. Like I would always be playing from behind trying to earn a spot. I never knew how to like play with a lead, like having a spot and keeping it. And so that summer, I looked up a bunch of, guys, like the best hitters in MLB, of what their stance was. And then I would go to the cage and try to like emulate their stance. And so I was like, and I was really scared that one of you guys would like drive by and see me like trying to hit like Mike Trout, or trying to like hit like who was it, a Ronald Acuna or Mookie Betts, like having those stances, and like none of them felt good. And so I looked up like 5'10" guys who are 180 pounds, and then I found David Fletcher, who is not by any means like an MLB star.
Yeah.
He was a utility guy for the Angels, and but I really liked his stance, and he was kind of tall, had his like bat or his hands kind of higher, and that felt good, and so I tried doing that, and it felt a lot easier getting my hands through and catching the ball up front, but it's still like my swing just still felt like janky, and I didn't know what to do, and then that's insert Richie, and then that's when we started to get to work.
Nice. Okay, so before we bring Richie on here, so Richie also played with Daniel. So maybe you can talk about that, what that maybe looked like for you as a player too, Richie. But so yeah, I hired Richie in summer of 2023. Richie had just got done playing. He was, you know, the leader and the captain of the first 2 years that I coached here. Actually, probably the biggest reason why I'm here, and the reason why I have a job at HBU right now is because of him. But Richie and I have a lot of history that we can go back in maybe another episode. But yeah, why don't you explain kind of what that first summer looked like for you specifically with Daniel?
Yeah, so I think kind of going back to when we played together too, the thing I'd always say is, dang, like some guys just like they just know how to compete. Like that's like their best tool. And like for me, I had a lot of physicality in the box, but I didn't have like that compete tool. So at the end of the day, like Daniel in theory was like probably a better hitter than I ever was. And it's like, dang, like if I could teach him how to like gain some tools, then he could be even better. And I think the first thing that came to mind is like we can't settle for what that was, because yeah, I honestly thought the production was a little bit lucky, and that's not. And you put that over a 200 plate appearance season, like I don't think we're producing at that level. So the first thing we identified is we had some blast data from when I was still playing from Dane, and Dandra, I'm pretty sure, had like the slowest bat speed on the team, but it worked because if you have a slow bat speed and a flat swing, you put a lot of balls in play, and sooner or later those balls fall in. But the issue was that I was seeing is that if you're not fast and you don't hit for power, you're either relying on just hitting singles and getting on base, or like bunt hit runs, which is okay, but like I think if you're not fast, you got to really get yourself on second base, and you got to be able to drive runs in. So the thing was, all right, like you have the best bat to ball skills in the team. You walk more than you strike out. Let's just like sell out to swing the bat as fast as possible. So I think going into like the summer, because it was great because I wasn't technically on staff yet, so I was just basically just being an adult, like out of baseball, working with the guys in the cage for fun. So our goal was, okay, we're just gonna find ways for you to move faster and swing the bat faster. And I think by the end of the fall, your top 10% bat speed, so bat speed and high intent swing, was probably 5 miles per hour faster than the previous year, which for those who don't know, that's extremely big jump. And the second thing we worked on was like pulling the ball in the air, because if you don't have a ton of bat speed and you don't have speed in general, the only way you're gonna hit doubles and home runs is you gotta pull it. So working on pull side ball flight was a big thing for us to make sure that you can maximize your damage in the box. Then what's great is like we can swing with that high intent, and if we miss a couple balls here and there, we get to 2 strikes and say, all right, like go scam. Like you're literally the biggest scam I've ever met in baseball. So I think those 2 things set you up for success. And the other cool thing was my first year, we would talk a lot about like roster construction, lineup construction. And I think the big difference for the 2024 team is we just didn't have power. Like we only hit, and we did hit more home runs than the previous year, but just like the types of hitters we had, we didn't have like a 15, 20 home run guy. And so I think we needed Dan to almost like step up to like hit for more power, and we were okay with him sacrificing some of like the bat to ball skills, which actually didn't happen. You actually still ended up having a good approach, but you ended up leading our team in home runs that year, and you're able to basically be the guy that we can actually depend on for some power and to change the game with one swing. And I think that's a testament to being a gamer. At the end of the day, like you know what it takes for us to win, and I could ask that of you, and you'd go out and do it. So I think that was a pretty cool thing to see, like you adjusted your entire approach, but still allowed like the foundation of you being like the best bat to ball guy to never completely disappear, but just kind of take build a different toolbox out and then let it play.
It was also pretty easy too, knowing that like it was really easy to trust in what Richie was telling me to do, and also knowing that like what I did the previous year like just wasn't, I had to make a change no matter what it was, like I had to be changed. And so it was like kind of like just perfect timing that you fell into that role and that we got to like work on that, because I think too, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like a lot of the stuff you had me doing, you weren't fully sure if it was gonna work. Like you were kind of like testing it, yeah. And like I was kind of like your test dummy, and it worked. And so like I mean, some things didn't work. Like some things we tried and we didn't like it, but like the stuff that did work, we really drilled into that and did it over and over again. But like from my point of view, in that training, like it was super easy for me and fun, because like it was like really developing a new identity and like evolving and like it wasn't like instant success in it, but it was pretty quick, and like the balls that were like going off my bat just felt better. Like I was finding a lot more barrels, and like we kind of got to a point where like, okay, yeah, this could work, and this might be really beneficial for the team. But yeah.
Nice, yeah. So going back to kind of my original, I kind of foreshadowed a little bit, but I was like, year one, that was not the player like who Daniel was. Like I didn't recruit him to hit for power. Just that's never been the hitter that he was. So a little bit background on my career. I went to a local high school here in Mid-Pac, who's very old school. Very my skills were exactly like Daniel. I put the ball in play. I had zero power. I get to a Division I school, and same deal. I put the ball in play, but I think I had maybe a handful of extra base hits my entire career. Never hit a home run there in 3 years. Go to Menlo College to finish up my career, and I remember the hitting coach at the time, Jason Ochart, who's the current hitting director, right, for the Red Sox, said, "Hey, we want you to hit for power." And I was just thinking, like, do you know who you recruited? I have 0 home runs in my college career. And I ended up hitting 4 home runs that year. I think I slugged higher than I ever did, and my batting average didn't drop. My strikeout to K walk didn't go up. So I kind of knew, like, okay, like if there's a year that we could potentially push the envelope and create a player who hits for a little bit of power, like this might be it. But I always used to go back and forth with Richie, because there's a lot of times a lot of opportunity costs that come with trying to gain more power, but then sacrificing the contact quality, which is obviously Daniel's strength, and we didn't want to lose that. So, yeah, what did that training look like day to day, drills, or for a guy like Daniel who did have those contact skills, like what did his training environment look like?
Yeah, so one unique thing about Daniel's situation was his class schedule in the spring of 2023 was like he always missed practice. So we would just hit together before practice because that was like his time at practice. And that was actually really beneficial because we could really try things out. So a lot of the training we used,
Sorry, this is spring 2024, right? You're talking about.
Oh yeah, my bad. Spring 2024.
Yeah.
Fall 2023 and spring 2024. We used a lot of like the axe bat speed trainers, the axe long bat, short bat. So the main thing we first worked on was creating a load that because his biggest issue is he would stand tall, but then he would stride forward and just kind of like spin around. So because of that, he couldn't actually get the barrel behind the ball on the inside pitch, and he would just hit like top spun ground balls to the third baseman. And when I was playing with him at third base, I knew he was hitting the ball every single time, especially 2 strikes. So I was like, okay, if you get those balls off the ground, we're good. So a lot of it was the favorite staple drill was always hook'em's long bat. So basically, you just put your front foot over your back foot, you preset your hinge, ride it forward, get behind the baseball, hold it in the air, and just let the ball be your feedback. We probably did that every single day. But I think sometimes there would be hiccups in the training where we'd be training for bat speed and like the swing looks janky, the bat speed's down. And then I was like, you know what, like we're just gonna like pivot for today. Like let's just go hit line drives. Like let's kind of flush it, because some days like the training just won't like click. And that's okay, because you have to be able to resort to like what makes the hitter great. And that way kind of remind them, it's like, hey, when all else fails, you can fall back to what you're good at. So I think being able to blend that was really fun, because I began to understand him as a hitter really fast. Like, hey, what does he need for today, and how can we adjust the training plan as it goes? But it was pretty cool also because Danjo was one of the most mature hitters we ever had. So when he had bad hitting days, he didn't like just mail it in for the day or say this was stupid. It was like, hey, like why was it a bad day? Like what could we have done better so that way tomorrow's training can be better? And the fact that he stuck with it for all of that season was why I think like the production never really fluctuated. It was pretty consistent the entire year. So I think the main thing was moving the bat faster, watching the ball flight, but then also knowing when we needed to take a step back a little bit, just kind of let him be him. So
awesome. Yeah. So 2024 spring, we won 30 games. That was the first winning season that HPU has had since 2016. We made it to the Pac-West Championship tournament, the conference tournament. We went 0-2 in the tournament, but it was the first time that HPU has been to a postseason since 2010. So there's some big strides that happened that year, and Daniel, we knew had one more year left. He kind of emerged at the end of the season as one of our unsaid captains, but with the guys that we had returning, we knew like this was automatic. He was going to be a captain. Going into that summer, we had to put our heads together and really identify what we like really needed to kind of get past that hump and make a run in the tournament. So fast forward to the summer of 2024. What did that look like for you from a training side? Based on what you had done, you ended up being a third-team all-conference catcher, right? And you were going to be the only returning catcher, right, that year.
Yeah.
What did that look like for you? What were your expectations? What did you do on a daily basis? Walk us through that.
So at the end of the season, I was dealing with the torn popliteus on my knee, and so like I knew I just needed a break. This is the most amount of baseball that I had played up to that point, and so I just the first thing was I just needed a break, and I took about 2 or 3 weeks off. Just didn't think about baseball. The only thing, I allow myself to watch the College World Series, but that was it. And I was just consistently going to the gym, and at this point too, it was I kind of started to fall into that I don't know how to say this, like HPU was my home. Like HPU rewarded me, like just from like activity standpoint. Like a lot of people started to know who I was. I started to know a lot of people, and it was nice, you know, trying like feeling like this place loved me and I loved this place.
Felt some ownership.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd stayed in Hawaii the past couple of summers, and in my head I knew this could potentially be my last ever summer in Hawaii, because it was my last year of eligibility. And so I really wanted to make the most of it and, you know, get around the island, do all the things, like do all the touristy things. But I ended up just really, I wanted to get stronger. Like I wanted to come back and have a 20 home run season. And I wanted to be first team all conference, and I wanted all these things. And so like once I felt healthy again, I started going back to the field and started getting back into my training, and I was working too, but I found a really good routine of going to the field, going to eat, going to the gym, and then going to work, or going to work and then going to the gym. And I knew there was a change in my offense that I wanted to make. I just didn't feel like comfortable to make it, which was like I wanted to, like I was really good at having selective hitting, and knowing when I wanted to swing, like knowing the situations. But I wanted to be a guy that like was just a free swinger and like a Jorge Soler type of, like where I'm going up to the bat and someone's like I wanted to be Bronson before Bronson was, you know.
Yeah.
And so I started trying to train in that way, and then once I came back, you know, Richie and we started kind of training in that way and getting my bat speed up, and you know, it was like working in the training. But then once we started inter squads, I think my first 3 at-bats of the fall were all strikeouts on 3 pitches, and which is so out of characteristic for me. And I was like, Richie, I have no idea what's going on. Like I'm seeing the ball, and I swear I'm like there has to be a hole in my bat. Like it's the only thing that makes sense. But I don't know, I'll let you talk a little bit more about like how that training went and what we were trying to accomplish, and like what didn't work, and like what we kind of had to resort to going from there.
Yeah, I distinctly remember that because I saw it happen, like the 3 strikeouts in a row, and Dane looked at me, he's like, Stanjo, right? I'm like, yeah, like he's fine, I think. But I mean, because we went to that fall and knowing, okay, like we hit the 5 home runs, like the bat speed is actually continuing to climb. Like your bat speed went up another two or three ticks. So like, okay, like this actually could be a thing. But I think what happened was like we kind of fell too far on that end of the spectrum to where the swing and miss just like kicked up a ton. So I remember we like kind of found a happy medium where like we still want to swing with intent, but knowing that because you had gained so much bat speed, you don't have to try to swing with so much intent. So I think really just making sure that the focus is still to like, because at the end of the day, like compress the baseball in time. And then you ended up being one of our best hitters that fall. After that tough like first game or two, I think you hit a home run, 1 home run to Hans, and you were looking like how you looked the year before. So that was a good sight to see, because we like you said, right? We tried it, we knew it didn't work, we kind of pulled it back a little bit, but we didn't completely like give up on the idea of like you should be trying to try to drive the baseball.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on that real quick? So I think this is a great point for all like hitters at any level looking to, you know, continue to improve their tools. Is like you talk about bat speed a lot and how that might translate to the game, but like it doesn't necessarily mean that in the game you need to try to swing as fast as you can, right?
Yeah. So with bat speed, right, the idea is that in the training environment we kind of try and some days we'll train for maximal intent, because the idea is that let's say your old like 100% highest intent swing is 70 miles per hour. If we can then get your 100% intent to 73 miles per hour, and then your 85-90% intent swing becomes 70, then now your old high intent practice environment sell out swing is now your game swing. So I think having hitters understand like the reason we train with such high intent practice is so that you can be yourself in the game. Like if you never train with that intent in practice, then I don't think the adjustments will ever stick. But that also doesn't mean you have to take the same exact swing in the training environment into your game. So I think that was a good learning lesson, because we kind of just pushed the envelope as far as we could and said, okay, maybe in the game like this is too far now, so let's scale it back. But understanding that the gains were still made. Now it's just a matter of like how can we most utilize those gains within the game itself, and not just like selling out to push the bat speed, like in a vacuum.
And sorry, and going back to the like kind of before everyone returned to campus, or even like going back like at the final game in the previous year when we lost to Point Loma, I remember Sente and Millie coming up to me and telling me like, hey, this is your team now, like do whatever you like, whatever, like, but this is your team. And that kind of struck a little bit of fear in me, and because I liked where my roles were at, and I wanted more, but like I didn't want to be labeled as a captain. Like I wanted, like my personality with the team, I don't think really fit the captain persona in my mind. Like I was friends with everyone. I was kind of a guy that like made sure everyone was in a good mood. I tried to keep things really light and easy in the dugout. And then I think I told you like, hey, like I don't want to be captain, like, but I told you, I was like, but you better not make this person captain. You don't make this person, you know. And we kind of didn't really talk about it. And then the Fall World Series came around, and you're like, yeah, so we're doing Captain Johnson versus Captain Molina. And like I was like, oh, this is news to me. But Vicente, who was a pitcher and the captain the previous year, he told me like don't change, like you don't need to change anything, like be who you are. Like this, just because you have this label, that doesn't mean you need to act a certain way. Just be yourself, like what you are. That's what the team needs. And it was really easy being captain for that team, because if it mattered a lot, I just said, Sente, hey, deal with this. Let me deal with the light, easy stuff. But if you need to make someone run, that's you go do that. But yeah, so like it was also dealing with, all right, this is my new role. Like this is, and I that's when I kind of started to realize that, yeah, like, okay, I do have this this weight, and I do have this leadership role on this team. Now how do I do that while also performing? Because what I really didn't want was to have this captain, the C on my chest, and then not perform for the guys, and then they're like questioning why I'm even in this role. Like I really didn't want that. So I don't want to say it was a pressure, but I just had it in the back of my mind, like Daniel, like you cannot be this guy who people don't respect, and so I really wanted to perform well while also being a good leader at the same time. Yeah.
No, that's pretty cool perspective. I think a lot of us struggle with that, right? As leaders, like we don't want to like look stupid, or we don't want people to like not like us, right, or not respect us. And you know, as a head coach, or as coaches, like we talk about it a lot, like who we think our captains are going to be this year. And I know like you didn't want to, but like behind the scenes, it was like, this is our captain, right? Like Vicente is he's the outspoken one that everybody knows is obviously our captain, but you know, it was like, these are the guys that Daniel is the guy that everybody is going to look to in like a crucial situation, right? And you know, for us, it wasn't really about like performance. It wasn't really about you know, accolades, or you know, because Vicente was a captain and he pitched in a relief role, right? Caleb was a captain and he was a role player. So you know, in fact, I think captains are, even if they're good leaders, they can be more influential when they do have those type of roles, because it shows the rest of the guys like, hey, like it doesn't matter what role you have, you gotta help the team win, right? And that's what we saw. So you know, it all worked out, obviously, but yeah. So fast forward to the spring, Daniel's off to a really bad start to the season. What's going through your head? What's going through your head as a hitting coach? Let's start with you guys.
Yeah, so it was really frustrating because like my routines were right. Like everything that I was doing pregame was everything that we worked on. Like outside of baseball, like this is the best that I was eating, and it was the best that I was sleeping. It was the best that I was like training, and then like none of it was translating it to in-game success, and which was really frustrating, especially not knowing what the solution was. And I felt so bad for Richie too, because like I could see in his eyes that like he didn't know what the solution was either. And we like in practice, like we were trying so many different things. I was like, do I need to change my stance again? Like it'd be the 6th time in my college career that my stance was gonna change. Like what we just didn't really know what to do, or we didn't know what to do. But like it was just really hard for me to grasp that and train for it and then translate it, because at the end of the day, like I knew like my best, like if I just put the ball in play, you know, I'd be fine. Like I could luck myself into a few hits, but this year those like the balls weren't falling, or my hardest contact was a fly out to center field, and it was weird because it was like the strongest that I had felt in my college career, but it was also like the weakest that I was like hitting, and it was really weird, and it was really frustrating, and I told myself like, okay, be good defensively, like I always thought like if you can do some things right, you'll be rewarded in other ways, which had worked for me in my career, but it just wasn't working. Like I really had no idea. And I remember I started the season in the 2-hole, and because it was like a perfect plan. Nunu's lead off, he gets on base, I can either bunt, hit and run, right, or there's a lot of options, he can steal, but if he didn't get on, then I was basically just a sitting duck, and there was no reason for me to be in that slot. And then I started like moving down, and then I was like, all right, I'm moving down in the lineup. This is not good for me. Like I got like something got to change, and like we kept making changes, and it would work for an at bat or two, and then it would just wouldn't anymore. And then so it was just like constantly changing, which is really frustrating in the midst of my final season, right, which I felt the pressure of, like this is my final ride, and yeah, I was lost. The frustration was building higher and higher after each game, and luckily, thank God, we had guys like Bronson Blythe and Skylar Agnew who can carry the weight, Tyler Arnold, where we were winning games and I wasn't really contributing offensively, and so that eased my mind a little bit, because at the end of the day, a win means more than anything. I never cared how I played if we won, but it was in the midst of those games where I'm not executing things, even like the bunts and the hit and runs, like I was like not executing, and that was even more just frustrating, because that was like my fallback plan. Like that was okay, if I can't hit doubles, home runs, I could at least hit and run and bunt, but I wasn't executing, and and the guys, like in my head, like they were looking at me differently, but they were, if I had a good at bat, they were just like, hey, good job, Danjo, you know, and I was like, no, like that's not good enough, like don't give me high fives. And I think it's funny too, like you always say like, hey, if the guy gets out, like you don't need to dap him up, but every time I got out, I'd come up and everyone was just like, hey, it's okay, Danjo, it's okay. Like, no, guys, it's not okay. But yeah, then I don't know if you want to talk about more about your side of that.
Yeah, I think the first thing I always thought of was if we had like ball tracking technology in game, you probably led the team in the difference between your expected batting average and actual batting average, because I think you were one of the top guys in line drive percentage for a bit and hard contact percentage, and it was like every single ball you hit in the barrel was an out. Like it was like the balls that were leaving the field last year were flyouts to the fence. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of like that's the line you play sometimes when you are just someone who doesn't have like a ton of bat speed, because you have to be perfect. And I think for the first time it was like every single game it was like you're not getting those balls to fall, but there would be always like, I remember there'd be like at bats where it's like, okay, if that ball fell, if the other ball fell, like you're chilling, you're happy. But it's like, I remember having to tell you like, some days it was legit, there's nothing wrong, you're just super unlucky.
Yeah.
And then I remember that one of the series that was a series at Menlo that like really changed everything, because you go to me, you're like, you know, like I'm trying to do everything right for this game, and it's just not letting me back. Like I should just be the villain. I was like, no, don't. And you tried it for like 3 at bats. It was terrible. And then Dane talked to you about it the next game, and he had like 3 hits.
Yeah. So like my thought process was like there was guys where like Skylar Agnew, who was like, he had a lot of emotion, and like he would come in if he got out, and he'd like have a lot of body language that he was showing, and then he would go out the next at bat and get a hit, and I was like, that's dumb. Like the game should not reward stuff like that, where like I'm having good at bats and getting out, and I'm acting mature, I'm placing my stuff down gently, and no matter how frustrated I was. And then there was one at bat where I was a line out to it was a barrel to left field that was caught, and I came in, and like for the first time ever in my career, I like threw my helmet, and it was really loud, and like everyone in the dugout looked right at me, and I was like, no, come on guys, like are you serious? This is like everyone else does it, and you don't bat an eye, then I do it, and everyone just looked at me, and it was like cringy, embarrassing, and like I just didn't care. I was just so mad. And then and like after that game, I think I want to say I was hitting like
270,
270, like if that, like 260, which is so underachieving, and there wasn't a lot of season left, and I was like, wow, this is really how like my final year is gonna go, like that's, what a joke. And then I was sitting on the bench, everyone was eating lunch, and I was like, I don't deserve to eat. Like, I do not deserve. Like, everyone's with their families, and I'm just like, I'm sitting in the dugout by myself, just contemplating every decision I've ever made. And Dane came in, and he's like, hey, Daniel, take a walk with me. And we took a walk, and I was like, finally, yes, just chew me out, like rip into me, please, like, I need it. And like, you basically like just took the calm approach, and you're like, hey, like, what's going on? And I was just like, told you, I was like, dude, I'm just frustrated. Like this is like uncharacteristic of me. Like, I don't know what's going on. And you kind of told me about a little bit of your history, and like at my lowest moment too, you're like, and you know what? Like, you're not even that good of a baseball player, and you never probably really were. And I was just like, what? And like, you're like, the reason you've had such a successful career is like because of like how you're able to compete. And you basically told me, like, look around, see the team that I'm on, and like we don't need you to be the guy that you were. And he said, you're like, those home runs that you hit last year, like you lucked into those, like those were just accidental barrels that went over the fence, and like we don't need you to be a home run hitter. Like, we need you to get on base for Bronson, or we need you to move Blythe over. Like, that's how you're gonna contribute. And you told me like don't look at your stats, like don't look at your batting average and all this, look at the games that you're in the lineup that we've won, and like think like, if you're not in that lineup, like, do we win those games? And that's when my perspective started to change a little bit, and it was exactly what I needed in the right time. And you know, I think I told either Dane or Richie, I said, you know, I'm going to give myself 5 more minutes to be mad, and then after that, like, I'm just flushing like every single at bat that I've had prior. And two, like, I think you told me, like, I was leading the conference in walks, which I didn't know, and you were like, if you got a hit in every single one of those at bats, like, you'd be hitting like over 300, and you'd be happy. But because like those at bats are walks, and you're not like, your brain isn't telling you like those are hits, whatever. That's why you're mad. But like, and then I was like, oh, like, I didn't even know I had that many walks, and I was like, yeah, like, you're right. If those were all singles, like, I'd be super happy at. And then the next game, I went 3 for 3 with all I maybe one was a barrel, but like all pretty scammer hits. And then like everything started moving upwards, and like I kind of fed into I'm not trying to get a hit this at bat. I'm trying to have a competitive at bat. And then like that just stacking those turned into hits, and then I just went on a heater and went from 260 to 340 in the span of like 12 or 15 games or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can follow up on that. I think the craziest part was even after that. So we track even in season like our competitive at bat percentage as the offense, and you actually led the team in competitive at bat percentage despite that like lull. And I think what was really cool was when we were like constructing the roster for that year, the reason we came upon the decision to bat you 4-hole, probably the most like unimposing 4-hole hitter in the country, and you didn't even hit a home run that year, and you said hit 4-hole, was because like with our lineup, the one thing we needed between our two most impactful hitters was consistency. Mm-hmm. So between Blythe and Bronson, we needed somebody to make sure that okay, like they just continue to move the line forward. Like if anyone knows about like more statistic stuff, like I was reading the same about probability theory in the winter, and I was like, you never want to stack a bunch of high variance hitters together. And I don't know if this is too much of our like bread and butter, but it also takes a lot to understand, so try it if you want. But basically we wanted to make sure there's just consistency, and what D'Angelo brought to the lineup was that consistency, but he didn't realize that he was bringing it by the walks, by the sack bunts, by hidden runs. Like I think he had 12 sack bunts. Did you have double digit stolen bags senior year? Close, you had like 7 or 8.
Yeah,
the secret was out because you used all your bullets.
Yeah. And I was really good at dirt ball reads, but I was slow enough that a catcher would make a throw because I got to have a really good read, but I was so slow that the catcher could still make a play on it, but I would be safe. I always thought that should be a stolen base if the catcher makes a throw, but they didn't count those. So
yeah, so that was really cool because I think what really happened towards the tail end of the year is that you really solidified what made you great in our lineup, and it was like, if Blythe got on base, it was like you're going to move him over, you can drive in yourself, but even bigger was like you had the best eye on the team. Like, I don't know if you finished in the conference in walks, but like the fact you almost had a 3-to-1 walk to strikeout ratio, which is in college baseball is like actually at any level, it's like almost impossible. That's actually you can't do that if you try. So the craziest part is like I remember, or the best part about it was the guy behind you. You're in scoring position if you're on first base. Mm-hmm. Like how many times did you basically just walk around the bases because you would walk to first and Bronson hit home run, just walk home. So
I think Bronson maybe led the country in 2-run home runs because Daniel was on first base.
Yeah, so it was really cool to see like your ability to be, and then we tell all our hitters it's like if you can be the best player you can be in your role. I think the hardest thing for you is understanding that your role from 2023 to 2024 to 2025 they're all different. Mm-hmm. But you're probably the only player we've ever had that we could tell to do that, and you can embody it. Because at the end of the day, you're the gamer, and gamers just you find a way to win. So I think being able to have a player like that, where you can basically mold them into what you need for that specific roster and that specific lineup, that allowed you to flourish. And like you didn't have to worry about hitting all those home runs and all those different things. You just have to be the best version of yourself. And like part of me is like, dang, like did I fail you because you weren't able to hit a home run in 2025? It's like not necessarily, because I think 2024 is like, I look at your 5 home runs, like 2 of them were hit at Corp.
Yeah.
1 of them was hit and bounced off the top of the fence at Viola.
Yeah.
And it's like, like those, you hit those batted balls over a bigger sample size. A lot of those, like you had one at Fresno that was at the fence. You had one I think at Hans was at the fence. It's, it's not like anything's going wrong. It's just I think in 2024 that's what we needed from you. So I think by the end of the season it was really cool to see that like just that whole lineup was just ultra consistent, and always like you were really the centerpiece of keeping it going from Con, Skyler, Blythe, you, Bronson, Tyler, Nunu, Troy. So that lineup was good, and you played probably the most significant role in the middle of it. So
yeah, kind of touching on that piece, like everyone would always say like, why is Daniel batting 4th in our lineup? And I'd always say it's like Blythe was the guy that everybody was gonna walk, obviously, right? And it's like I want the guy who's gonna walk to be the most clutch player on our team, and that was you. Like every time a guy was in scoring position, like I knew I was gonna get a competitive at bat, you know, regardless of who's on the mound. And so kind of fast forward to the conference tournament, right? It finally happened. I was like, this is the moment where this is all gonna pay off, because I think was it a guy in third or a guy in second? There's 2 outs, guy in second.
And then they walked.
They
walked
walked 2 guys.
So they walked our 2-hole, which was Skylar Agnew. And then they walked Blythe to load the bases, and with 2 outs. And I was like, there is absolutely nobody better for this situation.
Yeah.
This is the reason why we batted Daniel after Blythe. And yeah, walk us through that moment.
So Nunu led off the inning, and then Khan, I think, moved him over somehow. Anyway, Nunu was on second base with 2 outs, but it was right when Skylar was going up to bat. I'm doing like my routine. I'm getting information from Richie, and I'm doing this. I'm putting on my batting gloves, and I see the Point Loma coach start walking out, and I think he's gonna do a mound visit. And so I'm like, okay, I got a little bit more time. Like, I start doing my breathing stuff. It's like I knew it was a big situation, and I was like, I'm still 3 batters away, and I was like, oh, that's a lot of pressure on Skylar right now. like he's like, I hope he really like stays calm and, you know, stays within himself. And then he gives like the intentional walk signal, and I'm like, what an idiot! Like, they're walking Skylar to get the Blythe. I'm like, oh, that's so dumb. I'm still putting my things, and then the SCU start walking. You're like, Daniel, hey, they're gonna walk Blythe to get to you. And I'm like, what? Oh, that's smart now. And so I'm getting my stuff on, and I was like, and prior to this pitcher who has a really good slider and a really, really good splitter, but he wasn't throwing it for strikes a lot. And we kept swinging at it in the dirt, and I was getting really frustrated. I was telling guys, like, if you take, like, you're gonna get a walk. And so I'm going up, I'm doing my pre at bat routine, and I'm telling myself, you have to seat up. Like, he's gonna throw it in the dirt, do not swing at it. And it's bases loaded, and I was like, in my mind, I was like it'd suck if he threw it in the dirt that got by, and that's how we won. But like, also like that'd be awesome. Like, but like in that moment, I was like this is the moment like that I've been waiting for all season. And if you look it up, like, I was really good at hitting with runners in scoring position. Like, I felt like that was at like my best. But if you also look it up, I was like 0 for if they walked Noah Blythe to get to me. Like, there was just something about it. And so like there was a lot of stuff going through my mind, and I was just trying my best to just breathe and slow the heart rate down, like trying to think about anything else besides the moment that I was in. And I'm in the box, and he throws the first one in the dirt, and I spit on it, and I was like, this is gonna be the easiest at bat of my season. Like, I just have to do that 3 more times, and we win the game. And then he throws a get me over slider right down the middle. Like, probably if I swung, it could have like accidentally hit a home run, you know. But I took it, and like I was like, okay, stick to the approach. Like I'm seeing a fastball at my letters right here, and I'm taking my A swing. If it's anything other than that, I'm taking. And then he threw another slider, just middle, and I was like, Daniel, oh my gosh. And I call time, I like take out, I like do my 2-strike routine, and now I'm thinking like, okay, Daniel, like, do not look like an idiot, and I was like, also like my mentality, like every at bats, like I'd let a pitcher make me look dumb 1 time per at bat, but if you like once you did that, then it was my turn. Like, you were not better than me. Like, I'm better than you. If I'm gonna get out, it's because I messed up, not because you were better than me. And so I'm in the box, and I'm in the back of my mind, I'm knowing like this guy hasn't made me look like dumb yet. So I was like, oh no, like don't do it. And I knew he was gonna throw a splitter, and I wanted to like sit it, but I was like, I can't watch a fastball right down the middle. So like I'm thinking about that too. And then he throws it, and it was a splitter low and inside, and I just got the end of the bat to it, and off contact, like I see it bounce and then just like slow motion just going over the pitcher's head, and I see he missed it, and the fastest I've ever ran in my life, and first base never looked so far, and I just put my head down, I'm running, and I see the first baseman go up, and so naturally like I go down, and I kind of collide with him, and I look back and I see the ball is against the first base dugout, and I just like from that moment on I don't remember anything until I'm in the conference room and the thing, but I really like the videos of just everyone rushing the field, and like I remember the feeling too, like just my whole body being like melting and like feeling like I've achieved what I've always wanted to achieve, and like everything full circle now, like it was my moment, and I'm in the middle of the celebration, and like there's tears coming out of my eyes, and there's adrenaline flowing through my body, and I think it's really funny too that like I get the glory, but like I contributed really nothing in that game. Like I was like I think 0 for 4 up to that point, and I had a chance to take the lead earlier in the game, but Con got thrown out of the plate. And so like really credit to Nunu for getting on base to start that inning and being the winning run. But like that moment was like to this like will for probably the rest of my life be the greatest moment in my baseball career and in my life. Just the feeling, the emotion, the celebration with all the guys, and what really sucked about it was that because we were in the losers bracket, we didn't get to celebrate for that long because we had to go get food and then go right to bed because we had the championship game early morning the next day. But yeah, like just everything about that tournament, like, and that's again one of the reasons why I came to HPU was because in choosing what school that I was going to go to, my Gateway JUCO coach, Rob, he told me like go to a place where you can play in the playoffs because that is where like the most fun you'll ever have will be, and it's true. Like once you're in that tournament, it just turns into everything means so much more, and everything like every feeling is extended, and it feels amazing, and it's just so fun, and I'm grateful that I got to be a part of that in 2 different seasons. But I think that's why a lot of guys should think about coming to Hawai'i Pacific, because you have a really good chance of being able to play in postseason baseball, and that's where all the magic and all the fun really happens.
No, that's awesome. It was a phenomenal year, and a lot of great moments with the walk-offs and the records and all that stuff being broken. But I kind of that game to send us to the championship game was just everything kind of just lined up. I feel like Ryan Inoue, or actually Ryan threw 4 innings that game. And we ended up coming back that game, right?
Yeah.
I think it was 6-2 at one
Remember the
point.
speech that they gave us in the dugout?
I do remember that.
Legendary.
I don't remember exactly what I said, but I do remember that, and we kind of chipped away from there.
You're like we're 3 runs away. We got 6 outs to work with.
Yeah, you're like if I would have told you like 2 months ago that if all we had to do was score 3 runs in 2 innings, like. And you said something like, give us a real challenge or something like that, and like it fired everyone up, and then like instantly, just
like back to back.
Right. Oh, that's right. That's right. I mean, I think we all kind of had started to see our season coming to an end, like it did the year before. Point Loma eliminated us the year before too, and Point Loma's known for their bullpen. Like they can pitch every year, and we were heading late into the game, having to face their best arms. But I knew like the offense that we had, we had come back so many times prior that I was like, I've seen it so many times in the fall against our best pitchers, and I've seen it this spring against other teams' best pitchers. I was like, if we just continue to have good at bats, we're gonna win this game. We did, and yeah, unfortunately, it didn't work out for us the next day. I thought we played well, but Westmont was a really good team. But yeah, I guess that's Daniel's story. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. But one thing to finish us off here, Daniel's currently on the coaching staff. What are your thoughts? Just give us a quick rundown of how that's been the first semester.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice new perspective, and there's a lot of fun parts about it, and there's a lot of frustrating parts because I'm not a player, and so there's like certain things that like I want to do, but I just cannot as a coach. But it's fun learning and learning guys and seeing guys who kind of were in my situation and being able to give them advice, and especially with the young guys, being able to tell them, you know, my story and try to help them out in any ways that I can. But it was a pretty easy decision to stay with the HPU family. You know, I owe a lot to HPU, and I have a lot of gratitude towards HPU, and I believe in everything about this program, and I want to be a part of us continuing to grow, and I know that's the trajectory that we're heading, and so I'm grateful to be a part of it still. And I've said this many times, and I'll keep saying it, but you know, this is one of the greatest coaching staffs in the country, and I believe in everything that Dane's doing. I believe in everything that Richie's doing, and it's awesome to be a part of it. So I'm very grateful.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys listening, and I think I'm supposed to say like and subscribe. But stay tuned for our next episodes. We'll start to bring in other guys that have we've recruited, developed, and helped us win here at HPU, and maybe bring in some other people too that from all different perspectives of our program. And like I said, I think we have a really unique experience here that we can offer. And there's a lot of great stories that I want to share. So appreciate you guys listening. Happy holidays. Go Sharks.